A representation of the apple trees that Brigham Young had on his forest farm. It's rumored that the apples that Brigham Young grew on his apple trees weigh up to a pound. You could make an entire apple pie with just 1 or 2 apples. How do you like them apples? How many times do you think I can say apple on this train tour? Yeah, it's just a bushel of times. On the left-hand side of the train here, we're passing a couple different monuments. This first one we're passing is the Mormon Battalion Monument. Mormon Battalion, a group of 543 men and 12 women that marched 6,000 miles to fight the Mexican War. U.S. military history. However, when they arrived to fight, the war was over, so they were paid and sent home without firing a single shot. We also just passed the National Pony Express Monument. The Pony Express started in April of 1860. It only lasted till October of 1861. That's when the transcontinental telegraph was connected. That was a lot faster, cheaper, and safer way to transport messages across country. Coming up in front of us here on the right-hand side of the train is a large pink home. That's not Barbie's dream house, it's actually the Brigham Young Forest Farm home. That is the original home, and pink is the original color. This home was originally located in the Sugar House area, just about 15 minutes south of here. It's the first home that was moved up here to the park. If you get 4 guided tours of this home, it takes about 15 minutes to take the tour. That's about how long it takes for the train to make a complete loop and be back around to pick you up. So if you want to check it out and you haven't yet, now would be a great time to do that. Or if you want to continue on with us, our next stop is at the top of Main Street.
This is the original house.
Original， 这可以进，对啊，可以进去看啊。我们先绕一圈吧。而且没，
怎么解释啊？
就是他们
比较原始的，就是用这样。
所以他们就是用粉红色做他们的那个，而且这是真正有人的，怎么讲啊？
这就是你想要可以让你跑的第一个标准，还有1.8。
Alright, it looks like we're all aboard, so full steam ahead. Coming up on the left-hand side of the train here, you'll see our walk of Pioneer Faiths monuments. We all know that the LDS faith played a large role in settling this area. But each of these monuments pays tribute to a different religious group that came along with them and helped make Salt Lake the great diverse place that it is today. Just behind the walk of Pioneer Faiths there is the Garden Place Event Center. This is one of our rental buildings here on the park. We host all kinds of private events here, weddings, wedding receptions, family reunions, corporate events. We're just hitting here for your next big event. Feel free to contact people at the Business Center. They're more than happy to give you more information on all of our rental sites. Now if you look to either side of you, you'll see what appears to be just grass and dirt, but it's actually interesting grass. It's actually Lucerne alfalfa that we grow here. Lucerne alfalfa was Utah's first cash crop. Brigham Young wasn't sure it would grow well here in this dry desert climate, so he asked people to bring seeds from all over the world, and he experimented with all of them on his forest farm, and it actually turns out that the alfalfa from Lucerne, Switzerland grew really well here. Today we use it to feed all of our animals here on the park, in the petting corral, the livery area. To the right side of the train you'll see a row of cabins there. We call this Cabin Row. They're all original cabins brought up from various places in the state. This cabin we're passing closest to us on the right here is the home of Mary Goebel Pay. She lived there with her husband Richard and 7 of their 13 children. That was 9 people living in a home smaller than an average bedroom today. It said it got so crowded that Richard had to step outside just to change his mind. Also on the right-hand side of the train here is the John Pack home. This is one of the original buildings at the University of Deseret, which later became the University of Utah. Our next stop is at the top of Main Street here, right in front of the Huntsman Hotel. You can buy a Hires hamburger here today, or you can cool off with some ice cream next door at the saloon.
对啊，就是这节。
You can run through the irrigation station here, our newest feature on the park. Just crash up at the Madsen Furniture Company, that green building. There's a leather stamping craft at the B.F. Johnson Saddlery. Lots to do right here. Or you can continue on with us to the Native American Village. That'll be our next stop.
完全来这里泛舟就好了。
You want to take a picture? You got grandma?
Alrighty. Looks like that's it. Looks like we're all aboard, so full steam ahead.
如果在旁边聊两个，那把你写放在一个论点。叫做白色。
We're now entering the business district of our village here. If you look to the right of the train, you'll see the B.F. Johnson Saddlery. There's a leatherworking craft here for a mark on your wristband. You can stamp some leather. It's a lot of fun if you haven't checked it out yet. Also on the left-hand side of the train, you'll see the Godby Pitts Drugstore. You can learn about old pioneer remedies for many common diseases and ailments. On the right-hand side of the train, you'll see the Anderson home. They do pioneer cooking demonstrations in there every day. And if you pop in at the right time, they might even give you a sample of whatever they were cooking today. Also on the right-hand side of the train, you'll see a red sandstone building. That's the Cedar City Tithing Office. Tithing Office is where members of the LDS faith can take 10% of their income, goods, or time and donate it to the LDS Church. Back then, you could even donate 10% of your children. That's why Mormons have such large families. Every 10th kid, you just took your least favorite and dropped them off there. It all makes sense now. We also just passed the Manti-Fort grist mill. The grist mill is where you take your wheat to get it ground into flour and corn into cornmeal. Oftentimes, instead of currency as payment, the owner of the mill would just take a percentage of whatever he ground up for his customer as payment. Lots to see here as we round the bend. You can see our representation of the ship Brooklyn there. No, it is not a pirate ship. It actually is a representation of a ship that has sailed from New York around the tip of South America and into California. That's another way that pioneers came out west. It took about 6 months to complete that journey, so it took about twice as long as it did to cross by land, but it was considered a lot safer at the time. We also have our string where you can pan for gold up here. I usually don't like dealing with the panhandlers, but you guys can see how it pans out for you. We also have our Native American village here. You can make an arrowhead necklace, learn more about our bogans. And if you're really nice, they might even sing you a song. Who knows?
Everybody out.
Mary Fielding Smith's home is also over here. Lots to do. Or our next stop is at the bottom of Main Street.
What? Come here, bud. You want to make a necklace? Come here.
Alrighty. Looks like we're all aboard, so full steam ahead. We're entering the most exotic part of our tour here. Passing through the rare northern Utah hybrid oak. A lot of people call this scrub oak and treat it like a weed, but it's actually interesting because it only grows at this elevation and it only grows on the Wasatch Front. I bet you guys are just dying to know how old these root systems are, so I'm going to tell you. Botanists tested these root systems, and they found that some of them were over 2,000 years old. So they've been here for a little while. Pioneers would encounter this scrub oak on their way down Immigration Canyon and slow them down so much they could only travel about a mile a day having to go through this. On the right-hand side of the train, you'll see a cream brick building. That's the home of Mary Fielding Smith. Mary Fielding Smith was the widow of Hiram Smith, who was the brother of Joseph Smith. When she arrived in the Salt Lake Valley, she was offered a plot of land downtown, but she refused it politely, saying she wanted the future boys about self-reliance, so they built their home out in the modern-day Mill Creek area, which was about a 2.5-hour cart ride downtown Salt Lake, whereas it's about a 15-minute drive for us today. On the left-hand side of the train, you see a white obelisk monument. That's the original This Is the Place monument. It was put there in 1921 and replaced the wooden cross that was there before, but it marks the closest spot we know of to be where Brigham Young said those famous words, "This is enough, this is the right place, drive on." Coming up in front of us on the right-hand side of the train, you'll see a great brick building. That's the Deseret Hospital. This hospital was staffed entirely by women, and they treated mainly women and children here. It costs about $6 a night to stay here, which sounds pretty good to us, but back then the average wage of a farmer was about $2 a week, so it actually was very expensive to stay here. Today is home to our Utah Quill Guild Museum in the upper floor there. A lot of beautiful quills to check out. I highly recommend seeing those if you haven't checked them out already. Our stop here is a Smoot Hall. This is a replica of an original building at the Brigham Young Academy, which later became Brigham Young University. The original building unfortunately burned down.